Where to start? Where to start about F1 23 from EA Sports and Codemaster? I'm not good at the game. But that shouldn't take away from this review of what amounts to a very fun racing and sports sim. Coming in, I hadn't really known a lot about F1. I know everybody on Twitter seems to all of a sudden love F1, and I am the last holdout, apparently. Every Saturday and Sunday seems to be filled with people waking up at ungodly hours to watch European races, and I haven't been a part of that. So coming in, I didn't know much about what this sport was or how even the rules seemed to work for it. I did download F1 2022 when it was free, just to try to gain some semblance of knowledge about this sport. If I couldn't watch it and understand it, heck, why not go and try and learn it in video game form? Isn't that how knowledge is just passed down now? How things work? You know, don't read a book or watch a video tutorial about it. Just go play the video game. So when it came to F1 23, I wanted to try and get the wheels turning, all the puns intended, to try and learn more about this sport, and also to play a fun racing sim, because I haven't played one in a long, long time since, I don't know, the most racing sim that I do is Mario Kart. And they haven't put out a new one of those in years. Get on it, Nintendo. Anyway, I was bad at the last game, and I totally expected to be bad at this game. But the thing was, I was. That wasn't really much of a surprise. But the thing about this one, there was a sense of accomplishment as soon as you learned how to corner and how to downshift and how to move around the track and how these tracks work. And it's not just as, people that love NASCAR are gonna get mad at me, it's not just as simple as NASCAR, where you can bump into players and you're constantly in perpetual motion going in one direction. You're constantly not going left, is what I'm saying. You're making corners, you're making sharp turns. That led to a lot of crashes for me, to be completely honest. And then I made a podium. And then I had the best time of any lap. And I had the best time in qualifying. I was able to customize the cars and make the cars faster and determine what wheels I wanted to use for these cars. And all of a sudden I was like, I get it. Especially when you're playing this game either with a good surround sound or with headphones, gaming headphones, which I mostly played it late at night when people were trying to sleep in my house. It felt like you were in the cockpit. It felt like you were taking off in a rocket ship, basically. These cars go so fast, you feel like you're there. Now, I did have some of the problems before I changed my spectating mode, or the driving mode. When you're down in the cockpit and driving in that mode, in first-person mode, it becomes a little difficult, I'm not gonna lie. Just to start, F1 23 from Codemasters looks incredible. It looks great, it moves smoothly. There's not a lot of clipping or a downgrade in quality at all, especially when I was able to scale it up to 2160 and HDR on a new TV that I was able to get. It just feels like you're watching a race on ESPN. And putting yourself there makes the game even that more fun. I found myself over and over again going back to the career mode because I wanted to feel like I was racing for Mercedes. I wanted to feel like I was racing for Red Bull. And nothing felt better than finally figuring out the game, figuring out how the tracks work, figuring out the physics of how these things drive, and making a podium. Now to some other quirks about the game. It does take you a long time to figure out how to corner, at what precise time you need to start downshifting to turn. That leads to unfortunately for me, especially in online play, led to crashing into other players a lot and crashing myself into the wall a lot. Not only that, then your pit crew just tells you how bad of a crash that was over and over and over again. It felt like playing Groundhog Day a couple of times. It is interesting how in-depth the career mode goes with how long it takes to prepare for these races. Granted, it does let you skip all of these bits, like the 3 days of practice, fine-tuning the car. You can simulate all of that. But if you really choose to go that in-depth with your career mode and play all of it, you get hours and hours of gameplay out of just this single mode. Now, granted, it may feel repetitive, but the one thing that sort of saves that is that you do get the variety in tracks. All of the tracks seem to be, from all the Grand Prix, seem to be here, including new ones from Vegas, and they have the American ones in Austin as well, and Miami. It almost feels necessary to have those practices to get familiar with the track, because if you go straight in to playing on the track, you're not going to be familiar with it. It is really interesting how that plays out. It wants you to do these practices, to do the qualifying, to get sort of the full experience. Now, that may be tedious for some game players. I know at points I was like, can I just go do this Grand Prix so I can see if I can make it? But if I hadn't have done at least one practice, I just would come in like 20th place or wreck, and you don't want to do that. Talking about some other game modes here, let's see. Breaking Point 2, which I assume is a follow-up to Breaking Point 1, a game mode that I didn't play in the last one, but it was interesting to see here. It is what it is. It is EA Sports' version of Netflix's Drive to Survive, the very popular F1 Netflix show that shows a behind-the-scenes look of all of your favorite racers and the drama. I don't know if you know this. There's a lot of drama on an F1 circuit. But because of that, because of this game mode, I did turn on Drive to Survive. I will say it starts off with a bang. It starts off quickly. I didn't get too deep into it, but the trials of having to try and pass people and make up space for your battle with teammates and putting you in situations that maybe you wouldn't experience in the career mode is really interesting, because it demands that now you need to start passing people and trying to regain positions and earn points. Whereas in the career mode, if you figure it out easily enough, or if you play on a easy enough difficulty, which I did, because again, I'm bad at this game. But if you play on an easy enough difficulty, eventually that you will start to do well in qualifying and not have to learn how to pass that many people. They'll just have to hold off people, which is a completely different style of racing. In Breaking Point, it starts you automatically with having to overcome different obstacles that maybe you wouldn't have faced in the career mode. Not playing Breaking Point 1, I don't necessarily care about these characters. It is well acted by the cast. F1 World is really interesting because it almost amounts to, at certain points, another career mode where you can do solo Grand Prix against AI, more AI than what's actually in the career mode. Solo Grand Prix to gain XP, to unlock certain things, to put into your car that you will then probably and inevitably use in multiplayer races that you can do, including ranked online multiplayer races. So I would liken it to if you have played the Conquest mode in MLB The Show, sort of unlocking separate things. What is good about this, which is separate from other EA games, where there are microtransactions that you can do. This isn't really bogged down by them, if you will. The rewards come daily. You can also unlock certain rewards with this F1. with the Grand Prix in the F1 world. The only thing that I would argue that isn't that great about F1 World and in the career mode, the customizable characters, while you do get to customize their outfits and helmets, and heck, even in F1 World, you get to customize their apartment. I didn't figure out that you can't customize the player's face that much. So I'm, ended up stuck with an avatar that doesn't, it's a tiny nitpick, but ended up stuck with an avatar that doesn't not look like me, but if I want to have that true third person or that true first person experience, let me like 2K customize this where I'm like changing the size of my nose and ears and stuff like that. But it is sort of just generic face 1, generic face 2. That for all the customizable stuff in the game, that is there's just no customizable stuff there for the player model. So that's very interesting. Online, the lobbies are interesting because what I found is whoever sets the lobby, and you have the option to do that for yourself and people can join, whoever sets the lobby, they can make it like their own Grand Prix where, hey, you have to come in and you have to qualify. And wherever you qualify is where you're going to start the race. Or they can sort of do it by where you join. I found this to be very difficult because unlike the AI in the Grand Prix in multiplayer, nobody seems to want to cede position, so you're just all crashing into each other. So that's very fun. They did bring back local multiplayer. Thank you to a game for actually doing that. I know a lot of racing games will do that, including like the one I said, Mario Kart. It's all based on that, but local multiplayer is something that we're seeing in less and less games, especially not fighting games, especially like war games. Just like Call of Duty just did away with that forever. But having that option is so much fun. I'm glad that they continued to live up to the spirit of systems past with having local multiplayer in this F1 game. So if you do have friends, I don't, but if you do have friends and they come over and they want to play this game, or granted your significant other wants to play this game, you can do that. So that's actually really interesting. I do want to really just harp on how good this actually looks, like the lighting and the controls. The rain dynamic in this is actually really interesting because it really does affect your traction on the roads, and it is significantly harder to drive, I will say. But on top of that, all of the weather dynamics and the lighting look fantastic. I can't get over how well this game looks, how smoothly that it tends to run, and just how crisp it is. I really wanted to improve how this game looks and plays and feels, whereas some sports games, we won't mention the one, kind of just put that by the wayside. This is all about how smoothly your time is playing this game. What I did enjoy also is some of the race strategy stuff that you have to do. Like I said, in the career mode, it can either play a huge factor or no factor at all, because you can make the races customizable up to 18 laps. So you can make it feel like the real thing. I tended to have more fun with doing just a quick 5-lap race. That way you're not having to pit, you're not having to change tires, so on and so forth. I didn't experiment really with having to pit, but it was interesting. The tire selection came into play a few times, even on the short tracks, of how well the traction that you got on the track. I would like to experiment a little bit more with the longer races, just to see how the positioning of if you're able to hold off people for that amount of time, or how you're able to switch positions and pass people more so. But sadly, I've only had this game for a short while, so I haven't done everything there is to do in this game. All that to say, if you start this game and you're wrecking over and over and over again, just keep playing, because the reward, the payoff of getting to spray champagne on other simulated rich people, the reward of flying down the track at 200 miles an hour, passing screaming crowds, feeling like you're there, is so satisfying. It's so satisfying, and I really, really appreciated the work that went into making a solid F1 sim for the layman like me in F1 23. I give this game an 8. For all your news and gaming reviews, go to Hardwired on YouTube, click subscribe. We really appreciate it. You can find the rest of this review on KWTXtra.com. Thank you so much for liking the video. My name is Royden Ogletree. See you later.